From the studios of Warren Tech North, this is Building Bright Futures, a Jeffco podcast with Jeffco Superintendent Dan McMinimee.
Hello, this is Jeffco Public Schools Superintendent Dan McMinimee, and I want to thank you for making time in your day for our latest Building Bright Futures podcast. My guest this time is Emily O'Winter, Jeffco's Healthy Schools Coordinator. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Emily, can you tell us about your position with Jeffco and your background in healthy schools?
Yeah, so my personal background is really in community health. I have an undergrad in physiology and a dual master's in public health and urban planning. So really kind of that community health approach. But in the school district, really trying to build that culture of health in our schools and support all schools in their individual initiatives to really build that culture of health. It really is driven by two kind of main factors. The fact that we know our environments impact our health, and schools are part of that. So we want our staff and students to come to our buildings and be healthier, not less healthy, for being there. And the other factor is we know there's a direct link between health and learning. So if our kids and our staff are healthy, we're going to be more successful.
Great segue into my next question. Talk a little bit further about the connection between a student's health and learning.
Yeah, so a lot of this, I think a lot of us know. We feel better when we exercise, that we can think more clearly if we've had more sleep or adequate amount of sleep. And if we're eating well, we feel better. But it really goes deeper than that. There's a lot of research around the links between nutrition, eating, and our learning. Any teacher that you ask can draw that line between eating, proper nutrition, and learning. If a student comes in without breakfast or having had a lot of sugar, we know how that impacts learning. Same with movement. We know how indoor recess can impact the rest of the school day. So, but even further than that, the science is pretty clear. For example, between physical activity and learning. So kids that move more learn better. There's a protein in our brains called brain-derived neurotrophic factor that is present during brain cell growth.
Say that quickly 5 times.
BDNF for short.
Okay.
And BDNF is produced by exercise. So exercise can help grow brain cells. So the science is there as well between health and academics.
Hopefully you can explain this to me. As I'm out and about in our schools, and we have 154 of them, many of our schools proudly display a healthy school banner. How do they get that designation exactly?
So the baseline is to have a health and wellness team or healthy schools committee, something along those lines, that then develops and implements health and wellness goals for the year. So that's kind of the baseline for being a healthy school. We're exploring maybe a kind of level of designation, silver, gold, platinum kind of designation for the future, because so many schools are doing a lot of initiatives to impact student and staff wellness.
Well, speaking of initiatives, I wanted to dive into a couple specific examples, and hopefully you can give us a little more information on that. So let's look at some specific examples of schools that are really taking the lead in this area. Mitchell Elementary, for example, is a big believer in brain breaks. What are brain breaks?
Yes. So brain breaks, or another term is brain energizers, because we realize there's not necessarily a break from learning, but it's contributing to learning. Mitchell's doing great work in giving kids that opportunity to move during the day. We know that physical activity, the daily recommendation is 60 minutes for every kid, and it's really hard sometimes to get that outside of the school day, especially with some of our more impacted kiddos. So to give an opportunity for movement throughout the day is essential for health and learning. And so you might, teachers may incorporate movement into the lessons, like you may have seen pretending to be planets and moving the whole moving solar system, for example. Maybe relay races with sentence building. The list goes on and on. But also giving kids an opportunity to engage in more vigorous physical activity. Maybe Mitchell has what they call the Mitchell March or Mustang March with stations out in the hallways, going out and doing physical activity down the hallways, giving kids in classrooms that opportunity for kind of all-school movement approach.
So not in place of physical education. This is a supplement too. So that 60 minutes usually in our schools, they may have a 30-minute or 45-minute block of physical education, sometimes every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. But this would be another way in which we could ensure that students are getting that 60 minutes.
Yep, and I love that you lifted that up, because there's a critical difference between physical activity and physical education, PE. We want both. So while we can move all day, we also need to learn the importance and the science and health behind physical activity.
Right.
So PE is a critical component to that 60 minutes.
So Dunston Middle School is another interesting case where the PE teacher there has combined Zumba fitness with heart monitors for students. Talk to me about the heart monitor. I've actually seen those in several schools, but let's talk about Dunston Middle School in particular first.
Jamie at Dunston is doing great work, and the heart rate monitors are a really nice connection for students to learn, the connection between what they're doing on the outside and what's happening on the inside. So it combines physical fitness, physical education, and a lot of times science, physiology, math, because we want to be physically active in a variety of zones, and our heart rate zones are part of that measurement. So knowing, are you working hard enough? These heart rate monitors actually display the students' heart rate zones up on a wall, so that it can be incognito, or students, if they choose to have their names up there, however they want to set it up, but they can see how hard they're working. And that really taps into some of that intrinsic motivation,
right,
and competitive nature that many of our students have, to stay in that zone for at least 20 minutes. We want moderate to vigorous physical activity. We want our students to be engaging in that for about at least half of the PE class time. So they know then how many minutes of MVPA that they have.
So last year I spent some time in one of our PE classes, and I believe it was at Mitchell, and they were using the heart monitors too. And I found it fascinating just how engaged the kids were with that tool. And I think part of it is all of us, at least for me in particular, obviously the competitive piece is there, but also just knowing and seeing that number and understanding what's happening in your body. And I think if kids can realize that, then they can become that much more effective in their own exercise, because they feel what it's like to do 20 minutes of the level of exercise that's going to make a difference for them. And so, I mean, and I think they can see very quickly that, look, I don't have to run wind sprints for 20 minutes to get the exercise I need. I just have to be constantly moving. And I thought that was what was really cool for me. And
you really nailed it just there, because so many kids, walking might get some kids into that target zone, where running may be what it takes for another student. Right. So it is very individualized, which I love. And I think one PE teacher said, I think if in math you could walk through the room and put your hand on every student's head and know what they're thinking, kind of know what level they're at. This is a way to kind of easily assess your entire class. It does great stuff for students' individual goals and the educator goals as well.
Well, and just that immediate feedback to the kid, and that's the learner that we want to impact. Is, it's great for the teacher to know where all their kids are at, but it's even better for the kid to know where they're at as well. And I think that's one of the powers of the heart monitors. I really enjoyed the time I got to spend just watching the kids do that. It was amazing. So are there any other examples you want to share with us? Because I know there's a lot of great things happening in our PE classes across our district at all levels. So give me a couple other examples, because I know you have a few.
Oh, the list goes on. Our schools and other people in our schools are amazing, and really it starts with leadership, kind of allowing for that innovation and creativity from the teacher and parent side to approach wellness. We have schools across the district that have school gardens, working on wellness and nutrition policy. We have a lot of really neat staff wellness happening as well, health education, and a lot of schools also working kind of on substance use prevention or culture and climate. And in the PE classroom, we have PE teachers exploring kind of lifetime fitness approach to give our students that strong core to move on into the real world and live a healthy lifestyle. We know that health is a 21st century skill. So we have a lot of teachers either using those heart rate monitors or pedometers, exploring kind of adventure sports, things like slacklining and rock climbing and kayaking and mountain biking and trail running, engaging our students with our natural resources right here in Colorado. And so the list really goes on, and like I said, it's without our champions willing to go above and beyond and really lift up health. I don't know where we'd be right now. We're so lucky in Jeffco.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but as you grew up, things changed. Teaching just didn't seem like the best option anymore, so you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Interesting and innovative things are happening in teaching today, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Talk with me a little bit more about how you carry the healthy messaging over from school to home. I mean, you referenced a little bit of that, but our kids spend a lot of time at home, and sometimes it's unsupervised time, so there's opportunity to do unhealthy things or eat unhealthy foods or engage in unhealthy behaviors. And, ultimately, we have to teach them how to make great choices. So as we're moving into the summer months and kids are not going to be in school anymore, what would be some things that you'd want to share with parents about, hey, think about this as you're kind of building a schedule for the summer for your student or for that time after school right now that we have?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, our nation, our youth are facing a lot of health challenges, but not one entity like schools or organizations or sector can take that on. And it really is a community approach that we need to take, including homes and our students' own ownership over their health. So one message that we really like is the 5-2-1-0 message, and it stands for 5 fruits and vegetables a day, 2 hours or less of screen time, 1 hour or more of physical activity, and 0 sugar-sweetened beverages. So it's a really easy one for students to remember and implement in their own lives, or for parents to remember. And of course, that screen time I want to lift up, that's non-academic screen time. We understand now reading or doing schoolwork is going to probably involve screens. So we're talking non-academic, like TV, video games, Facebooking and scrolling. And so that is a really easy one to follow. And if parents can take those kind of 5 more low-hanging fruit and run with it, and students for that matter, and remember those, that's one of my favorites. The other is half of your plate, have it be fruits or vegetables at every meal. Just remember, half the plate. You don't have to worry about servings. You don't have to worry about the size of a baseball or an ounce or a quarter cup. Just half your plate.
That's great tips. Thank you. One of the things I really like about the work we're doing in Jeffco is I see how all these pieces connect, and I think people in the district are now seeing all the connections that we can make in the work that we do on behalf of students. How can we connect to each other? So I know your work and that of your team involves not just healthy bodies and minds in Jeffco, but it extends to other critical areas, including anti-bullying efforts. Talk to us a little bit more about how all those pieces connect and who are the key people you're working with and what that looks like in a school or looks like to a student.
Absolutely. So the bullying and culture and climate, those are issues and initiatives that really land in so many different departments. It really has to be a collaborative team effort, working with student services, student engagement office, diversity, working with our mental health teammates and health education. We all try to team up to address that culture and climate and the bullying issue. Some of our newer and exciting work is around mindfulness and students really being able to understand what's going on inside and have compassion and empathy for each other and know everyone's story, because everyone has a story, and if we know that better, most likely we're going to be kinder to each other. Very small, basic things, being thankful and having gratitude are some basics that are kind of bubbling up as easy to implement, but can have a big impact. But we have, of course, about Day Without Hate. That's another area that we team up with. Our Student Health Advisory Council created an initiative to kind of build off that called School Without Hate, giving schools a checklist of things they can do to impact that school culture and climate, building community in classrooms, doing changes in the built environment in their school, like a high five zone or a switch it up lunch to try to build community, are some of the kind of small things that we're trying to do to impact how we treat each other.
Well, you say small, but they're really critical. I mean, when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I'm a huge advocate of, that's like the baseline, one of the baseline things. After you have food, you have water, you have enough sleep. I mean, that next level is basic sense of safety and security. And that comes down to the things that we just talked about. And so I think it's critical work that we're doing. And yeah, it may seem like small things, but those little small things, if we start early with kids and they recognize that, hopefully that will take care of some of the other issues we have.
100%. We really want to support schools in their needs, and we recognize that as a big piece.
So what is it that you love best about your job? You have a big job. What's the thing that you go, man, if I could do that every single day, all day, that would be it?
I love my job so much, and I love the just general possibility to impact. Just that every day, the possibilities. I just love that part, and the people. Of course, I love every single person that I encounter is passionate about this, and they want to make a difference in their classroom, in their school. Those components I love so much. The thing I probably is closest to my heart. Don't tell Steve Bell. School gardens. I love them. I can see the community impact they can have, social, positive social impacts, obviously nutrition, non-sedentary time. Kind of the list goes on and on. So that's kind of one of the big ones that's close to my heart.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. I was at an awards ceremony downtown a few weeks ago where you were honored, and it was so incredible to be there. There was probably 700-800 people in this room, and you were the focal point. I'm going to make you be embarrassed a little bit here. Tell us about that award.
Yeah, so that was from one of our partners, Kaiser Permanente, and they recognized several individuals across the country.
You didn't say county, you said country, as in United States of America.
Yeah,
right.
On kind of their work around thriving schools, which is Kaiser's term really for healthy schools. So part of that is our work around increasing physical activity during the day. The brain energizers, brain breaks, all school movement, even yoga during the day, and then trying really hard to also impact that professional learning piece. So we have trained, I've lost count now, I know it's over 1,000 Jeffco staff in the connection between physical activity and learning, and how they can make changes in their classroom to impact health and learning. So trying to do those big shifts and big changes. It's a big district. I know you know that more than anyone else. But that's what
I mean, that's the significance of that award. If you're in a smaller district where you have one high school, one middle school, a couple elementary schools, I think it probably wouldn't be easier, but it'd be a little more manageable to try to do some district-wide programming. And when you think about 154 schools and 85,000 kids and the impact that you have on those kids every single day, that is really daunting. And that's such a huge award for you to get for our school district. We're really proud of you. So congratulations to you on that. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you were hoping I would ask you today?
I think you covered a lot of it. I think we've really, I feel lucky and honored to be here right now and to be in Jeffco. The district's been really supportive and continues to, that support grows almost every day related to health and wellness. And I feel lucky to be in a place that gets it and lets schools and lets myself kind of roll with it and grow this initiative as big as we can.
Well, thank you, Emily. I appreciate you sharing some time with me today and appreciate all the work that you and your team do. It is hugely impactful, and I hope you know that. We've come to the end of this episode. If you have a subject or guest idea for the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing on either JPS-TV, Jeffco's official YouTube channel, or through iTunes. Thanks to Warren Tech instructor Ron Gordon, audio engineer extraordinaire Hollis Pierman, and the rest of the digital audio team here at Warren Tech North. Until next time.
This has been Building Bright Futures, a Jeffco podcast with Jeffco Superintendent Dan McMinimee. This is a production of Jeffco Public Schools.